to clear something up.
I text Dave and I go, hey.
What do you do in LA for a living?
The way Hitler died?
How much? 400 a month?
One senior who ditched natural.
I think balancing using stats is best solution, because other stuff is pure subjective opinions. And hearing GMs about balance is a horrible idea. They're less than 1% of players. Why should other 99% suffer because of this? What? Alright, time to make a video, I guess. Hello guys, it's me, Greed here. Today it is my duty to talk about this comment that I received, specifically stating that balancing around the top 1%, which is about Grandmaster, would make the other 99% of players suffer. Now this is wrong, and it's my responsibility to prove it. So the first thing we have to understand about Overwatch is that it is a competitive FPS game, and for it to be successful it needs to follow a competitive balance philosophy, which is why I believe they should balance around the top 1% and not for the average player, and this is specifically for competitive integrity's sake. The reason for this specifically is because as you rank up, the players around you are going to have superior game sense, mechanical skill, game knowledge and so on, as opposed to the average player that you may have been playing against before. Therefore, they have a greater ability to abuse broken mechanics, broken heroes, bad map design, bad game modes and so on for a competitive advantage. So the reason you would consider the top 1% when addressing game balance is because the top 1% of your game, especially competitively, are the players that are playing the game correctly. Therefore, you would want to balance around the players playing the game correctly because you want your game to be played correctly. This means balancing around the average player means that as you rank up, the game gets more and more unbalanced and more broken, and the competitive integrity diminishes massively, thus removing any incentive to actually improve and rank up at all. Balancing around the top 1% allows for the fairest environment for all ranked players, where the only discrepancy between players is their skill. This makes cheese, meta-slaving and counter-picking players less viable because it comes down to skill and not forces outside of player control. This also means that your improvement is more rewarded because there are less factors outside of skill that are going to determine whether you rank up or rank down, meaning that a more balanced game allows for a more competitive atmosphere in every way. It also adds more solo carry potential to the game, meaning that if you get a team that is worse than you, you're able to carry yourself and get the win that you deserve if you play well enough. Now, I think it's time that we actually look at some examples of this. Now, Overwatch is notoriously balanced around the average player, so it's relatively easy to find some discrepancies in how the balance of the game actually affects the majority of the players. Let's take a character like Roadhog, for example. When you look at how the average player plays the game, he may look absolutely fine, and in a lot of cases, relatively weak, because a lot of his power level comes down to whether you can land your hook or not. And because hook is obviously a mechanical skill check, it means that a lot of players in the average rank just simply fail to hit it. However, when you look at the average Grandmaster Roadhog player, you can quickly see how balancing Roadhog for the average player becomes absolutely game-breaking for those that actually want to get good at the game, because the character is simply too accessible by good players and therefore too impactful in the higher ranks with not enough counterplay. The same argument can be applied to a character like Sojourn as well, where they're massively overbuffed so that they're more accessible to the lower ranks, yet they become extremely game-breaking at the higher elos where people can obviously play them to a higher quality. Bad players can then abuse said broken heroes to rank up, thus destroying match quality because of the inconsistent skill levels from bad game balance, which creates a lot of boosting. So, to recap, skill expression remains intact because top players push every mechanic to its limit, whether that be aim, movement, ability usage, positioning, and so on, and if the game is balanced at their level, the full skill ceiling stays intact instead of being watered down for lower ranks. This preserves the idea that practice and mastery gives tangible rewards. Another reason, it's the best testing ground for balance issues. The top 1% exploit every overpowered mechanic instantly, which means if something is broken, they'll show it a lot faster than casuals will. So balancing from their perspective means problems get caught early before they trickle down to the rest of the player base. It also provides a healthier esports scene. The competitive scene relies on fairness at the highest level. If professionals have a balanced game, esports is more watchable, hype, and legitimate. A thriving competitive scene also trickles down excitement to casual players. Lower ranks often misidentify what's overpowered because of lack of experience or skill expression. Balancing for the top prevents the devs from making knee-jerk nerfs that hurt the game's depth, ensures design decisions are based on objective performance, not just subjective frustration. Many players look up to the best of the best. Balancing around them keeps the fantasy alive that if you grind and improve, the tools you use will still work at the top level. If you balance only for casuals, players will hit a ceiling where their skill no longer matters. Trickle-down balance is better than the reverse. If a hero is balanced for the top 1%, casuals can still use it, they'll just never push it to its limits. If a hero is balanced for casuals, it often breaks the game at the top end, for example, low skill friendly buffs turning into pro level dominance. This also adds clarity in design philosophy, where balancing around the top 1% gives developers a clear, consistent anchor, but without that, devs risk chasing the constantly shifting complaints of the majority, leading to chaotic balance cycles. It also helps to prevent power creep. Casual-driven balance often leads to buffing weak-feeling heroes instead of addressing skill gaps, where at the top level, these buffs for fun create massive imbalance. By focusing on elite play, devs avoid escalating arms races where everything gets overtuned. It also highlights true outliers. In casual ranks, bad positioning, aim inconsistency, or teamwork gaps can make balanced heroes look overpowered. Top players strip away these inconsistencies, exposing what's actually broken, which gives developers cleaner, data-driven balance changes. It also keeps the game's identity strong. Balancing for mastery ensures unique mechanics like movement tech, ability combos, and so on aren't flattened out for the sake of accessibility. This prevents the game from turning into a lowest common denominator, sure. This also avoids fake difficulty, where in the lower ranks, mechanics can feel hard simply because players haven't learned them yet. Balancing around this perception risks removing depth, example nerfing movement techs or a utility usage or something. The top proves whether mechanics are genuinely unfair or just under-practiced. Another thing is it builds a stable foundation. Think of balance like architecture. You balance the strongest, most load-bearing part, the top 1%, then everything below rests on that foundation. If you balance for the casual base, the structure collapses the moment someone skilled pushes the system any harder. And my next and final point is it creates longevity. Games like Counter-Strike, StarCraft, and Dota lasted decades because they were balanced with competitive play in mind. Players of all skill levels could enjoy them, but the depth ensured the game never ran out of skill expression. And that's why you should balance for the top 1% in your games, because it makes for a better game, objectively. It is inarguable, it is a proven fact that if you balance for the best players in your competitive game, you will create a better game in general. I have been Greed. That's my video. Goodbye. I love you all. I hope you have a fantastic day. Sorry this video is a little shorter. I tried to make the script as concise as possible so that there was less words but more information, if that makes sense. But I know some people like longer videos because they just like to hear me yap. And maybe some people don't, so I don't know. Anyway, I hope you try. I love you all. Have a good day. Goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye.